Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Melvin Edwards. I'm the Vice President of Springfield City Council. Normally, Attorney Michael Fenton would be here. Unfortunately, he's running a little late, so I'm going to get the meeting started. Actually, what I'm having the pleasure of doing is starting off with two proclamations. So I'm going at this point welcome you to City Hall, and I'm going to turn it over first to my colleague, Councilor Zaida Govan.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. So today, I wanted to do a proclamation for a person who has been in Indian Orchard for a very long time. We know Indian Orchard is a very special neighborhood. Catering loves Indian Orchard. So I wanted to just proclaim this for Susan Dumas, who has been at Arts Barbershop for a long time. I'm not going to say how long. I'll tell her age.
Ms. Dillman,
Yes, please. Susan, you want to come up, please? So I'll just read the proclamation for you, and then I'll present it to you. So this is, you can stand right at the podium. Right at the podium. She might want to speak, I don't know. Just in case, yes. All right, so this is from the City of Springfield, today, October 28th, 2024. Whereas the City Council is always pleased to recognize an outstanding business person in our community upon her retirement, and whereas, it says it here, sorry, after more than 44 years of servicing the community, a favorite local barber, Susan Dumas, has decided to retire. And whereas Susan graduated from Brahms Barbering School in the spring of 1980, then proceeded to apprentice under Simon Joseph at Arts Barbershop in her hometown of Indian Orchard. And whereas for the past 14 years, she had the privilege to work with Roger Zepke when he took ownership of Arts Barbershop. And whereas Susan has been a staple in Indian Orchard community, providing quality service as a master barber and a welcoming figure to all her loyal customers, and also to anyone she has had the pleasure to meet. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Springfield City Council hereby recognizes, honors, commends Susan Dumas on her very well-deserved retirement and wishes her health and happiness in the next journey of her life. And this is a proclamation sponsored on October 28th in honor of Susan Dumas, attested by the City Clerk Gladys Oyola Lopez, and sponsored by myself, Zaida Govan, the City Councilor in Ward 8, and all the City Councilors. So thank you. And I know if she wants to, you want to say anything?
Ms. Dumas, would you like to address the council?
Want to say anything?
I just want to thank everybody for accommodating me for all these years.
Ladies and gentlemen, I also have the pleasure and honor tonight of allowing or recognizing my colleague, Catering Walsh. She has a proclamation she'd like to honor as well.
It is my great pleasure to welcome Tom Gentile to the podium. Tom has been a guest here in the past, and it's especially important to have Tom here this week because Tom is the national chairman of the Society of National Magicians. And in addition to receiving the proclamation, which I will read in a minute, he's actually going to do a little magic for us. So we're going to have magic in the chambers. So first I will read the proclamation. Whereas the city of Springfield is always pleased to recognize one of the oldest forms of art, which continues to give pleasure to young and old. The Society of American Magicians each year memorializes the deeply mourned death on October 31st, 1926, of Harry Houdini, first past national president. And whereas professional and amateur magicians, this is awkward, give generously of their time and talent to charitable purposes at hospitals, schools, military bases, nursing homes. Magic, as a hobby for teenagers, has demonstrated itself to be very positive. Whereas the Society of American Magicians is dedicated to elevating the art of magic with its endowment fund, providing educational and humanitarian assistance. Whereas National President of the Society, John B. Midgley, has declared that Halloween, October 31st, 2024, shall be National Magic Day, and that the week beginning October 25th to the 31st, so it shows you how timely this proclamation is, shall be National Magic Week. And whereas magic is an ancient and delightful form of entertainment, which continues to give much pleasure to young and old. Now, therefore, be resolved that the Springfield City Council hereby declares the week of October 25th through October 31st National Magic Week, and recognizes and commends the national president and Tom Gentile for being here to represent the magicians and all that they do. Thank you, Tom, for being here. And do you have a little show for us? I'm not sure if my colleagues want to make...
This is Harry. Seen him. He's been around in memory for the last... He passed away in 1926. A gentleman on the Montreal boxing, he was up in Montreal, and a college student heard that he could take a punch. So he asked Houdini if he could take a punch. And Houdini said, yeah, I can take a punch. But he had to get up and get ready to take the punch. So he was getting up, and the gentleman punched him, ended up rupturing his appendix. And he survived about a week, got sepsis, ruptured his appendix, ended up in the hospital, passed away on Halloween. So that was the real eerie thing about Harry Houdini passing away. And the Society of American Magicians just published a book. If any history buffs in the audience, or city council or city homes, and we're known for things, but the history of magic in America started, this book is from 1776 and onward. And when I was doing my notes for the presentation tonight, I realized that in our assembly, even though it's 102 years old, we have produced 3 of the national presidents of the Society of American Magicians worldwide. So I'm pleased for that. But we've been visible in the community for national night outs. We've been around for Bay State Medical Ball, community trunk or treats, different pumpkin feasts, Easter holiday down at the riverfront. So we really thank you for this. Our assembly collaborates with different schools, organizations. If you need anything for fundraisers, in the past we've sent different scouts to camp, and Philmont Scout Ranch, we've helped the Girl Scouts sell cookies. We put up a show in South Hadley, and we've also taught Boy Scouts magic for Magic Camporees for the weekend instead of pioneering and things of that nature. We presently have a petition to the Scouts of America for a Magic Merit Badge. If anyone has an in with the Scouts, we would appreciate that, because out of the 4,000 years that magic has been around, we think it's only right that the Boy Scouts have a merit badge for us. Cub Scouts have a magic badge, but not a merit badge. Lastly, we meet in Ludlow on the first Friday of every month. We have a Boy Scout effect for balancing a belt. Anyone is the Laurel or the Order of the Arrow, see me, I can get you an arrow. And we've been offered videos in the hospitals under hospitalmagic.org. And if you want any other magic information, it's magicsam.com. So with that, just a little brief thing. Some of the magicians are known to do balloon animals. I don't do a lot of them. I do an unbelievable worm or a snake. That's what I do with the kids. But with a little bit of training, we go to conventions and different seminars during the year. So this is my repertoire for balloon animals. So if you want a hat or anything like that, I won't do it. So this would be a chicken. This is a peacock. This is a cow. This is a shark. That's some of the things that we've been working on. And as you know, 9 days away, if you don't, there's going to be a thing called an election. And in America, we have quite the system, and I'd like to remind everyone in the room, if Pat Paulson, when he was running back in the 80s, for those of us that remember the 80s, Pat Paulson said, vote early, vote often. You got to wonder what these lines that are forming, if people aren't getting back in line and doing it again. If you are doing it by mail, please remember to do it in black ink. We don't want to hear that anybody got voided because of a blue ink. So, for the children in the audience, what's coming up this week? Election Day and Halloween, right? That's it, she's good. You're doing your work, 44 years. But we have trick-or-treat bags, right? So some of the things that you would probably get for trick-or-treat would be candy and different goodies. So what we're looking at is, when you go out trick-or-treating, think of how much you love the candy you're going to be getting. And make sure that the candy is pure when you get it. There's no razor blades. Have the grown-ups check it. And if you have costumes and everything, follow the rules. There are different rules for crossing the street and getting out there in public. And what's really great about America is we all get together to do this once a year and have fun. Thank you very much, catering.
Mr. Gentile, thank you very much for your patriotism and for your show.
You want the flag?
Would any of the... Yeah, I can do it, catering. Okay. Thank you, everyone. We're going to take about a 3-minute recess, and then we'll get started with the big... Oh, we have one more. I'm sorry. My apologies. You? Okay. We have one more proclamation. Councilor Clerk Bruce.
I'd like to call to the podium Wendell Mitchell, please. So I met this young man probably like 10 years ago. I've known him way prior to that, but really got to work with him and really get to know him as a man. And then I reached out to him recently to say, you know, I'd like to do something for you. And in the Wendell Mitchell fashion, he basically was like, no, I don't want anything. I don't need any recognition. I do it from the heart. And that's the reason why we want to recognize you, because it's people like yourself that really make this city go, to be honest with you. You're an unsung hero. You do a lot of great work in the community, and really want to take the time out to say thank you, because we get into this mode where we don't thank those that really paved the way and really doing great work. So, Wendell, I want to give you your flowers while you're here, and just let you know again, just saying thank you. And I know Barbara is always by your side from the time I met you, and she's been right by your side. And I know we had a scare some time ago, and she was right there. And I'm glad to say that you made it through, Wendell, and I'm proud of you, the way you persevered. So I want to read a proclamation. The Springfield City Council is pleased to recognize Wendell Mitchell Jr., and whereas the son of Wendell and Evelyn Stewart Mitchell, raised in the Pine Point area of Springfield, Mass., with his 4 sisters, Edith, Teresa, Florence, and Dorothy. And whereas father of 3, Michael, Caitlin, and Kristen, 3 stepchildren, Daniel, Maureen, and Matthew. And whereas Wendell was a former bar owner, which I didn't know, print salesman at Pond Eggberg, assistant director of the YMCA of Greater Springfield, project manager as Asflund Tree Experts, and whereas Wendell is well-versed in our community, as he and his family's church is Our Lady of Sacred Heart in Pine Point, holding numerous positions in OSH, AA coach, gym coordinator, and president, to name a few. And whereas Wendell has coached K-8 basketball, soccer, baseball, softball for boys and girls in their parish in the Pine Point community. And whereas Wendell supports and volunteers with Square One in Springfield and Shriners Children's Hospital. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the City of Springfield City Council hereby recognizes, honors, and celebrates Wendell Mitchell Jr. on his continued dedication and support to the City of Springfield. And this proclamation is sponsored on October 28th, 2024, in honor of Wendell Mitchell Jr. It's signed by our city clerk, Gladys Lopez, and also sponsored by myself and all of the city councilors. Again, Wendell, thank you and congratulations. And, and he got the best crowd. Got the best crowd behind him. So Wendell Mitchell, return to you.
I'd like to thank the city councilors for their recognition, LeVar for reaching out to me. For me, my dedication to OSH athletics was all about the kids and seeing that the kids had a path to go on, because that was the path that sports was a path that I used, not always correctly because I didn't listen. But the kids had a safe place to go on Saturdays was our gym. Every kid in our program knew that they could come up on Saturdays, spend the whole day. We've got some fine young men and women come out of our program. Nate Costa, the Springfield Thunderbirds president, is a OSH kid. Peyton and Taylor Schubrook that owns Sick Bricks, they're also OSH kids. Many nurses, and when I went through my troubles, I had some of my kids take care of me. So I call them my kids because they are my kids, because everybody needs somebody to help them along the way, give them some encouragement, whether it's just knowing that coach is going to be there every Saturday. I can go up there, maybe even get a free haircut if I talk to them nice. But I have to recognize some people that helped me along the way. Barbara Begley, my partner, Patrick Donnelly, who has been with Olsh with me for 30 plus years. We've run that program, and I was in it as a kid since 9. So I'm very honored, humbled to get this honor. It's not something that I really like because I think it's all about the kids, and it's all about what we can do for them. But I thank you, city councilors, for doing this for me. Thank you.
So again, as you can see, very humble, and I just want to also recognize Joe, the Griffin brothers. They went through Osh as well. They're scholar athletes. They play collegiate football. So I know Wendell had a true imprint on them as well. So I want to recognize that. And then I want to open up to any of our counselors. They want to say anything. If not, we'll just take our picture.
Councilor Govan?
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I just want to congratulate Wendell on this proclamation. It's well-deserved. I've known you for a long time, and I've seen the growth, and I've seen the work that you do. So I'm really proud. You and Barbara both do a lot of work in our community, so I'm really glad that you are here in Springfield, in our city that we love. Thank you.
Councilor Allen?
Thanks, Wendell. I'm not sure I know you personally, but I've seen you around and always had a good vibe. You always had a good vibe, and glad that we, in a city, to make a city strong, we need a lot of people in a lot of places doing a lot of good things for kids and to be role models. And it sounds like you're one of the best. So thank you for your work.
Councilor Walsh?
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. And I'd like to congratulate my colleague, LeVar Click Bruce, for sponsoring this proclamation for you. It's an honor to hear all the wonderful things that you've done in our community, and I'm glad that you are being recognized, and keep up your good work. It's an inspiration to those of us who are on the council to know there's so many good people in the city of Springfield working to make Springfield such a great place to live, work, and follow up with all the good that you do. So thank you so much.
Councilor Delgado?
I just want to say thank you to you, Wendell, for the impact that you've had on our community. Thank you to my colleague for presenting this to you. I think one of the things that people forget is that we do have a great city, and we have a lot of great people that are behind the scenes who are the unsung heroes who really do most of the work. Some of us here, we get shine, we're on TV, but we only get as far as the people that are really doing the work on the ground. And to that, I really appreciate what you're doing and the many folks like yourself who don't get the shine. So you deserve that. So thank you.
Any other councilors? Would you like to come forward and take a picture, please?
We're going to make this. Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Springfield City Hall. Today is Monday, the 28th. Time is 7:10. We're getting a little bit of a late start. But thank you to the counselors for helping out with proclamations in my absence, and thank you especially to Counselor Edwards for subbing in there. I had another commitment earlier in the evening. So our first item, well, actually, Madam Clerk, are you ready to call the roll yet?
Yes.
Okay. Madam Clerk, why don't we start by please calling the roll?
Counselor Walsh? Present. Counselor Allen?
Present.
Present. Counselor Delgado?
Present.
Present. Counselor Click Bruce?
Present.
Present. Counselor Govan?
Present, and Mr. President, the audience says that they can't hear, or someone in the audience says they can't hear. Can you
Okay,
guys
well,
hear?
if you can't hear us by the time that the meeting really gets going after the pledge, then we'll figure it out. But I think when the peanut gallery conversations quiet down, you'll be able to hear better.
Present. Counselor Brown?
Present.
Present. Counselor Davila?
Present.
Present. Counselor Curran?
Present.
Present. Counselor Santinello?
Present.
Present. Counselor Edwards?
Present.
Present. Counselor Whitfield? Absent. Counselor Perez? Absent. Counselor Fenton?
Present.
Present.
Will the council and our guests please rise for a moment of silence? Tonight's moment of silence is offered in honor of the passing of the father of our recently retired colleague, Kelly Mikowitz. Mr. Hartman. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Madam Clerk, first petition, please.
First petition is for Trenton Street one-way.
Okay, is there anyone here to speak on behalf of this petition? Okay, can the crowd hear us a little bit better now? Still can't hear. Still can't hear us. Okay.
Yes, sir. My name is Miss Candace Haynes.
Hi, Candace. Thank you for coming. Could you, are you speaking on behalf of the Trenton Street petition?
I am, sir. Thank you for your time.
Okay.
I do apologize. I'm out of the state on orders in South Carolina, but I did make the time to be on this meeting because it is one of great importance for us that live over on Dickinson and Trenton.
Okay. Well, you have the floor. Please tell us about it.
Thank you, sir. Well, approximately 3 years ago, I purchased the house 483 Dickinson, utilizing my VA loan. I've built a wonderful relationship with all of my neighbors. One issue that we did find is that the intersection of Dickinson and Trenton tends to have a lot of accidents due to it allowing both lanes of traffic. Also, our tenants and friends, their cars have been hit multiple times on hit and runs because the street was just, it's too small of or too tight of a street for two-way lane traffic, especially when cars are limited to parking on one side of.
Okay, we just lost Candace, but I will say that it did receive a positive recommendation from the Traffic Commission and from Director Signoli. Any discussion on the one-way
Sorry,
petition?
the signal is kind of going in and out. I apologize.
Okay.
One of my tenants, their vehicles have gotten they own two vehicles. Both vehicles have already gotten hit twice on different occasions. Luckily, I was able to get a recording from my cameras on the property to be able to help them recoup damages. Unfortunately, my neighbor who owns another multifamily, his tenant wasn't so lucky as they end up having to come out of pocket $1,000 for a deductible because their accident wasn't recorded. So we've had multiple issues with people speeding up and down the street. It just makes a very unsafe atmosphere when you have one of my neighbors who has about 6 kids. There's children in the area, people walking their dogs. And I feel that making it a one-way will make it much safer. I do understand that there is going to be some construction at the X, but currently Trenton Street is used as a cut through to avoid the lights. I do understand how Springfield drivers.
Okay. I've lost Candace again. But Candace has made a strong argument. Okay, Candace, you're going in and out a little bit, but we appreciate your testimony. Thank you very, very much.
I'm sorry, I'm back again.
That's okay. Thank you for your testimony. Are there any comments or questions from the council on the one-way petition?
Thank you, sir.
Councilor Davila.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Candice, for your testimony. I just want to be clear, we are suggesting to make Trenton Street one-way from Commonwealth Avenue to Dickinson Street, correct? I believe that's
correct.
Okay. And
yes, sir.
Very well. And if I may, Mr. President, Madam Clerk, did we receive any opposition letters to this?
We have not.
From nobody? Okay. I do know exactly what this young lady is talking about. It's a very busy area, that area there. There's been numerous accidents there, a lot of fender benders. So, if the Traffic Commission gave a positive recommendation, I don't see any reason why we should not follow suit on that. Particularly, not only in the area where Chief even mentioned that there's going to be traffic coming down, a lot of construction from the X project, so it's going to be a good safety measure. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Davila. Any other councilors? Okay, seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll on the petition.
On approval of the petition, Councilor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Delgado.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Click Bruce.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Santinello.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Whitfield, absent. Councilor Perez, absent. Councilor Fenton.
Yes, more than
Yes.
sufficient. Petition is approved. Item number 2, Madam Clerk.
Item number 2 is a petition on Patton Street for a one-way.
Anyone here to speak on this application? Remote or in person? Okay. I don't see anybody. Counselors, this also has a positive recommendation from the Traffic Commission and the DPW Director. Is there interest in voting on this tonight, or would we like to continue it?
I think if it's been through the traffic commission, it's been vetted.
Okay.
So I would have no objections to voting for it.
Okay, does anybody feel differently? Okay, Madam, Counselor Davila?
I was gonna do my due diligence. That's Councilor Perez? Yes,
That would be Counselor Perez.
yes, okay. I have no objection, Mr. President.
Okay, seeing no objection, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
On approval, Counselor Walsh?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen? Yes. Yes, Counselor Delgado?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Click Bruce?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila?
Yes,
Yes, Counselor Curran?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Santinello?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield, absent. Counselor Perez, absent. Counselor Fenton?
Yes, more than sufficient. Petition's approved. Item number 3, Madam Clerk.
Item number 3 is for panhandling signs.
Okay, is there anyone here wishing to speak on this petition? Ms. Quagliato Sullivan? You have to turn the microphone on. There's a little button with the face. That's the one.
Good evening, Tina Quagliato Sullivan from the Development Services Division, Community Development Department. So I think actually some of the counselors in the room are probably already familiar with the panhandling signs as they sit on neighborhood councils, but these signs were advocated for by neighborhood councils. They exist in some other nearby communities. The language on the signs has been vetted by the Springfield Law Department, as well as our Director of Housing and Homelessness Policy, to ensure that it's sort of sensitive to the folks that it would be impacting. The signs, we have funding for, I believe it's 180 signs, and we have locations that have been approved by the Traffic Commission, as well as the sign has been approved by the Traffic Commission. The proposed locations have been submitted with input from both neighborhood councils, from input from the police department, as well as other relevant city departments like housing. And so we are putting this before you for final approval.
Thank you, Ms. Quagliato Sullivan. Counselors? Counselor Govan?
Thank you, Mr. President. I think this is, when we first talked about that at our neighborhood council, and I think there was a press release put out about it, a few people reached out to me and, you know, they were confused kind of, because I think what they thought was that the people who were panhandling were going to be arrested or harassed by the police. And I explained to them that that's not what this is doing. And what this is doing is just encouraging drivers or people who donate to the people to donate in other ways. So my neighborhood council, the Indian Orchard Citizens Council, is in favor of this, and they're very interested in having the signs put up in our neighborhood. So I just want to, you know, let people know, and I think just clarify, because even I was on the radio 2 weeks ago and the same thing came up, that, you know, people thought, oh, they're going to be harassed and they can't do it anymore. And that's not the case. So I just would encourage us to educate people when we're out there if you get those questions. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Govan. Microphone.
Gosh, sorry. And just to speak to Councilor Govan's concerns, Exactly. I mean, I think our whole purpose here is to take all steps to avoid any type of criminalization of poverty or homelessness. And so this is one of the tools in our tool belt. Our intent is to partner rollout of the signs with other programming to also address homelessness. So that will include more proactive outreach to try and get folks connected with services and more permanent housing, as well as trying to bring more units online to actually house folks in.
Thank you very much. Councilor Davila.
Thank you, Mr. President. Tina, good to see you. I'm going to make a few comments in a second, but first, I have to say that I do believe that this is a good start. I know you mentioned there's going to be other follow-ups to this, but this is a good start. I do have some questions, Tina. My educated guess is that these signs are going to be put high enough that they won't be able to be taken down or vandalized, correct?
That is my understanding. So I believe they're going to be installed by DPW in-house. And I believe the hope is that placement of them will be high enough to avoid vandalization, as well as they will be larger than, so Enfield is the closest community that I'm aware of that has similar signage. They will be significantly larger than those signs.
Right, and so you say 180 signs, so roughly, I believe you said offline to me that they're pretty cheap. Do we have roughly how much we could pay for them?
I believe the $49,500 that we have budgeted for this will cover 180 signs. So I'd be lying if I said I could do that math right in my head, but if you divide that.
Where's that money coming from?
It is coming from the Neighborhood Enhancement Fund, which is funding that the council approved, I believe, this past summer.
So every neighborhood that is going to get a sign, they're chipping in towards the signs, correct?
Correct. So we have reached out to all of the neighborhood councils. The locations you see are those that were submitted. Our intent is, as more locations come up, we'll put them through the Traffic Commission for approval. But we were really hoping, what we did here was we submitted all the possible locations that were both submitted to us and that came from the other city departments to try and get them all approved at once. And then we'll go through that, and the signs will be installed in phases as DPW develops them and has the ability to install them.
Right. Tina, I just want to call your attention here, Mr. President, if I may. On the, it says Bay Area, you have two things that caught my eye. You have CVS, it says, and I'm reading directly, page 12 on the agenda, 3A, page 12. It says CVS on Sumner Avenue, then it gives the address of 600 State Street.
Yeah, I think it sounds like there may have been an error in what neighborhood that was listed under.
So is that CVS on State Street, or is that going to be Sumner?
I believe probably Sumner Avenue. I think the CVS, I think it's both State Street and Sumner Avenue.
There's one on each location. Okay.
Yes.
And then Sumner Avenue on Dwight Street. Where in the name of God does Sumner Avenue meet with Dwight Street? I even looked it up on the map, I can't find it.
Off the top of my head, I'm not sure, and I'll probably have to go back and consult with Ed Whitley on that one.
Okay, because I believe that might be incorrect.
Yes.
Could be Dwight Road.
It could be Dwight Road, yeah.
Dwight Road, yeah, that's a good point. Thank you, Councilor Guan. So Tina, as I mentioned offline, I'm going to go back. There are some locations that I think should be considered as well in Forest Park. And I thank you for this, Tina. Mr. President, I just want to say that this is a good start. Let me just tell you briefly something that I saw last week on the Memorial Bridge. I was coming into Springfield, and I'm at the red light. There's this guy out there panhandling, and you could see 18-wheelers zipping by him, literally zipping by him. And this guy, God bless his heart, he's out there and he's dancing, asking for money, panhandling. And what really got me was not only the danger he was putting himself under, but also the sign that he had read, and I quote, "I need money to buy beer and pot." And then at the end, it says, hey, at least I'm being honest. That's not what I want visitors to see coming to Springfield. This is a very serious problem, and this is, like I say, a good first step. I'm glad to hear that there's going to be other actions. I look forward to see what those actions are. We need to, Mr. President, what I call to do this compassionate disruption. Because I've seen people, I have treated people, panhandling, who have been impacted by vehicles. They're drunk, they're high, they get hit, and it's very concerning, but I think it's a good start. Tina, I'm going to circle back to you to look at some locations in Forest Park.
Sure.
But I would ask that you keep us abreast of this. And Mr. President, I do ask that maybe starting next year, we as a body really in conjunction with the mayor start looking at this very seriously to come up with solutions. I don't have all the solutions, Mr. President, but I do know it's a big problem and we need to act on this. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Davila. Councilor Click Bruce. I see you, Councilor Santinelli. You're in the queue. Councilor Click Bruce.
All right, thank you, Council President. Just really want to say, since I became on the council, it's something that I was really advocating for from the start. So again, Tina, thank you and the team who have been involved to really pushing this forward to making sure this is a reality. Because the reality of the situation is, and I hate to say this, I knock on wood every time I say it, but something bad is going to happen where laws are going to change, right? And it's unfortunate that we have to be reactive instead of proactive. Again, this is a step. It's not the end-all, be-all. It's multifaceted. I do know, there are some concerns about, kicking certain people out and this and that, but our kids should not have to see this and go into school. There's a gentleman who has an open wound cut on his leg, and then you ask them, do they want housing or do they want help, and they say no. So these are conversations that, as a counselor, that we are having. So it's not like we're trying to kick somebody out. We actually advocate to give them resources to help them out. So I'm pleading to the community to please stop giving, and I'll let Councilor Delgado, because he had a question that I had, so I'll pass that to him. But on behalf of the Pine Point, 16 acres in Upper Hill, the areas that I represent, I know they were really advocating for this strongly, and we want to make sure that their voices are heard, because this is a city issue, it's a nationwide issue, and our residents are really concerned. And again, our kids should not have to see this each and every day. So again, Tina, just please let the administration know that Councilor Click Bruce is definitely happy. And again, this is a step, and hopefully we can do more in the near future. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Click Bruce. Councilor Delgado.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Tina, for your efforts on this, you and your team. I just had a simple question. I saw on here that, you gave a suggestion of where to donate. Is that gonna be the same organization throughout, or are different organizations gonna be in different sections? I was just curious about that piece.
It will be the same organization, which is the United Way of Pioneer Valley, and the reason behind that is they partner with Mercy, who is contracted by the city to do our homeless outreach, and so they intake lots of those calls from Mercy and provide resources to them and work with them around this outreach. So that was the reason for that. They provide materials and resources for Mercy as they're doing their outreach. And if I may also just respond to Councilor Davila's point, I just want to any counselors that have other locations that are not on the list that you'd like to see us take a look at for consideration, you can forward those to me via email, and we're happy to take a look at them.
Thank you, Councilor Davila. Councilor Santinelli. Councilor Delgado, Councilor Santinelli.
Thank you.
this is a step in the right direction, but it's really a Band-Aid. I just have a question because I wasn't on the council when the ARPA money was being handed out. We had $110 million of ARPA money. Did any of that go to outreach or any kind of a game plan for the homeless in the city of Springfield?
There has been significant resources dedicated to homelessness outreach and programming through ARPA. Again, like I said, I believe there will be announcements paired with the sign rollout that will include some additional proactive outreach. But I can also say that there have been resources dedicated to homelessness programming through home ARP funding, continuum of care funding, HOPWA funding, ESG funding, and also other sources of funding that Jerry McCafferty, who is the Director of Housing and Homelessness Programming for the city, would have a better idea of.
Is it adequate?
Sorry?
Is it adequate, the money?
I mean, I think this is a wide-reaching and very complicated problem, and it could always use more resources dedicated to it. And certainly, I think we're happy to have conversations with counselors if you have thoughts or ideas about other resources. I can also say that the city, in partnership with the police department, has also recently applied for funding through, I believe it's the DOJ as well, to support some programming associated.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Councilor Santinello. Any other councilors? Okay. Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. When you just the United Way, that you said the actual United Way is where they're directing you, correct?
Yes, the United Way of Pioneer Valley is the organization that the city has agreed with to direct any donations to.
And where I kind of think it's a good idea, but I also think that when we think of things like that, why wouldn't you guys consider using funding for faith-based organizations? Or because usually where I look at it, where I go to school at, we have outreach where have you guys ever considered donating to faith-based organizations? You know, we have like tithes and offerings and things like that. Did you ever consider that?
It was a little hard to hear your question just because your sound is sort of going in and out. But I think you're asking, did we consider donating to faith-based organizations? And so I think the answer in terms of the city donating funds to faith-based organizations, that would likely not be appropriate due to constitutional restraints on that. But that being said, I think I addressed previously, but the reason why the United Way of Pioneer Valley was placed on here is, one, because they have a hotline that folks can call, but also because they coordinate and provide the resources to the organization, which is Mercy Hospital, who they're contracted with the city to provide homelessness outreach. So that was the reason that Pioneer Valley, the United Way of Pioneer Valley was selected. I mean, certainly if you have other thoughts on that as we're moving through the program, we're happy to have those conversations with you. But I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, well, I do know, for instance, we have given faith-based organizations ARPA funding.
Yes, and so that has to be under very specific circumstances, but I think to be clear here, under this particular program, the city isn't giving the United Way of Pioneer Valley any funding as a result of the signs. It's just an avenue for where the city is encouraging folks to donate in lieu of giving money to panhandlers. So it's encouraging folks to give money in a more meaningful way.
I understand that. Where I would still look to lobby for actual faith base, where they could use a more holistic approach, where they will have actual God to use a more spiritual approach in rehabilitating the actual individual. Just coming from a faith-based background, is there a way to reach out to maybe churches and having them being added to that list of possible donations where they can now access that funding, where they can do that, actually have outreaches that access different communities?
So I hear your recommendation, and I will say I don't think that I can answer that question here. I'm happy to sort of take your recommendation and bring it to folks within the administration, in particular the law department, for their review and thoughts about whether that's possible and or appropriate.
Yes, because really, my belief that you're now taking away from the actual potential of church members being able to receive blessings by giving alms and donating to the poor and sick. So, I was raised up in that type of environment. So I would just kind of encourage the administration to at least use, instead of just like a hospital for mental and physical things, I would also encourage access to actual spiritual nourishment and feeding individuals who might be broken some spiritual food to get them to turn. But that's just my concern. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Brown. Councilor Govan.
Thank you, Mr. President. So Tina, I know that the signs basically say to not give money to panhandlers, and you're suggesting that they give to the United Way. So I understand that, and I know that when people, if they read the sign, hopefully they'll say, okay, well, maybe I'll give to the United Way, or maybe I'll give it to my church, right? So that's just a suggestion from what I understand. And I know that the United Way helps out a lot of organizations, not just Mercy Hospital. So I just wanted to bring that in because the question that Councilor Brown had just kind of, I don't know that that's something that we can do as a city because, separation of church and state, we have to maintain those boundaries. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Govan. Any other councilors? Okay. Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
On approval, Councilor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Delgado.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Click Bruce.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Brown. Councilor Brown.
No.
No, Councilor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Santinello.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Whitfield absent. Councilor Perez absent. Councilor Fenton.
Yes, more insufficient. Petition's approved. Item number 4, Madam Clerk.
Item number 4 is petition to change the zoning of the property known as West Side Connecticut Avenue from Residence A to Residence B.
Okay, councilors, this is a hearing scheduled consistent with Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, and the rules and orders of the City Council. This is the second time this matter has appeared on our agenda. At the last meeting, Attorney LaCourie requested a continuance at the last minute, and today he is requesting our permission to withdraw without prejudice. So is there such a motion to allow this application to be withdrawn?
Second.
Okay, so there's a motion made by Counselor Davila. Is there a second? Seconded by Counselor Edwards. We're going to call the roll on it. If the council indulge me just for a second, I want to point out that there's a lot of residents here tonight who planned on speaking against this. And they were also here at the last meeting. So I imagine they're probably pretty frustrated to have had to come down twice and attended a neighborhood council meeting. So, I don't know if this petitioner will apply again, but just from a, government accountability standpoint, I think we have to keep in mind that there's a substantial amount of opposition. Councilor Davila.
Mr. President, I didn't have it on. I thank the members from I believe in Springfield, correct?
Hungry Hill.
Hungry Hill, sorry. Hungry Hill, thank you for coming, showing interest in your government and more importantly, your neighborhood. Mr. President, the motion was made. However, out of this room, I wouldn't have any objections. If we can hear them out to express their thoughts, I don't know, that will be entirely up to the parliamentary rules.
If the council would like, maybe we could have one member speak on behalf of everybody else. Is that okay with the council, if we heard from one person?
Yeah.
Okay, so you gotta nominate one person here. Oh, okay. My 7th and 8th grade English teacher has been nominated. One of my favorites.
Mr. President, may I suggest 3 minutes?
Huh?
3 minutes?
3 minutes, okay, 3 minutes, Mrs. O'Brien. Okay. I can find my remote.
My name is Mary Ellen O'Brien, and I'm on the board of the Hungry Hill Neighborhood Council. And as Councilor Fenton has said, this is our second time down here regarding this request to change a lot in the neighborhood that is now zoned for Residence A to Residence B. The neighborhood is predominantly punctuated by single-family homes. The zone change was made over 30 years ago to change it to Residence A. Many of our residents are here tonight to tell you that that's what they wish to maintain. And I'm not going to go into our whole presentation. I have pictures of numerous new single-family homes that have been built and 2 that are currently being constructed in the neighborhood. Individuals who have respected the zoning designation and who have honored the character of the neighborhood. And we would hope that the city council, when it comes, if they come back, would agree with us and would support the people who you've been elected to represent, the people who live in Springfield. The gentleman who's the petitioner lives in Feeding Hills. And, there's a safety issue there. Glenwood School, which is an elementary school, the front of it faces Morrison Terrace, but the back of it faces Connecticut Avenue. And this lot is on the corner of Connecticut Avenue and Francis Street. A week ago, this past Thursday night, our neighborhood had their regular neighborhood meeting, and a number of residents had come to express their concerns about traffic issues on Connecticut Ave. And in the morning, when those kids are going in, and in the afternoon when they're coming out, that whole area where this lot is in that particular area is complete gridlock. And our ordinance officer said that at times he has to write as many as 5 tickets in the morning. So there's a safety issue there. These older neighborhoods were constructed and populated when families, if they had a car, they had one. And to put a duplex at this particular location would result in a minimum of 4, possibly 6, maybe even 8 more cars. It's just not the place for it. And people advocated for this over 30 years ago. Some of our younger residents here have bought houses assuming or having the right to feel that their investment was going to be protected. And I think that this is something that the people who invest in Springfield have a right to, and they deserve it. So we're hoping, obviously, that they're not going to come back. If they do, we will be down here again. So thank you for your consideration this evening, and we came.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Okay, so that, we're not going to do any more public testimony, but if councilors have anything they'd like to say. Councilor Curran?
Just a procedural question, Mr. President. If we were to vote this motion down, could we vote on the petition and vote that down as well? What if?
We could. The petitioner is not entitled to withdraw without prejudice. They are asking to withdraw without prejudice. If we voted on it this evening and voted it down, there would be a 2-year moratorium on them coming back. So, you know, while there is a ton of neighborhood opposition, you know, we'd have to weigh that in our decision making.
I mean, if I could continue, I mean, I'm of the opinion this is the second time that this has been brought to the council. You know, I don't know if the petitioner is in the chambers tonight. I know personally, I've received many calls in opposition to this petition. So I would be inclined to vote this motion down, withdrawal of prejudice, simply vote on the motion, the matter before the council.
Okay, so we've got that statement from Councilor Curran. The petitioner is not here this evening. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of the petition? If the council doesn't wish to allow it to be withdrawn without prejudice, then we would open the hearing. We would hear from the residents. We would allow there to be an opportunity for someone to speak in favor. And we do just have this one letter from Mr. LaCorey, which we received a few hours ago this afternoon. I tried to reach him several times by phone to discuss with him this letter, and I wasn't able to. I sent him an email as well this afternoon, and that went unanswered. But there is a motion on the floor, properly made and seconded, and it is to grant the request to allow the petition to be withdrawn without prejudice. Is there any discussion on the motion? Councilor Davila?
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you for the neighborhood for speaking out. It's important that you are here and your words have been heard. I understand the spirit of Councilor Curran's motion, and I understand it. However, I personally don't feel comfortable voting something down with prejudice if I have not heard the other side. And I wondered what kind of exposure this body will be under. And although I understand there's a lot of opposition from the neighborhood council, they made that extremely plain to us and clear. We do have an obligation as a body to hear the other side. And so I would hate to vote it down just to come back and bite us later. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Davila. Any other councilors? Councilor Walsh.
Yes, Mr. President, I agree with Councilor Davila. I am not in favor of this petition, and if it comes back, I'm not supporting it, but I think it's a terrible precedent to set that we would vote down something without having the opportunity for the other petitioner, even though we don't like him, we don't like what he's going to do. I think that sets a very bad precedent for future zone changes and special permits. So I'm going to support the motion to withdraw and hope the guy doesn't come back.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Walsh. Any other comments or questions? Councilor Allen.
Thanks, Mr. President. I tend to agree with Councilor Davila and Councilor Walsh. It's our obligation to hear both sides. And I believe we all feel strongly against this. If it comes back, I imagine we'll all feel strongly against it then. But that, I think, is our obligation, I'd say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Allen. Any other councilors? Okay.
Mr. President.
Councilor Curran.
If I could just add some words, I respectfully would disagree with my colleagues in regards to that we're unduly prejudicing the petitioner. This is the second time the petitioner brought it before the city council, so we're going to have a third time. If anything, the petitioner is unduly prejudicing the residents who have come down to the city hall for a third time. I think the city council has given the petitioner ample time to make his case. Again, to allow a third time, I don't think it's gonna leave the city open to any kind of paraphrase Councilor Davila, any kind of negative situation. He's asked us to take a vote. I'm prepared to take a vote. So I again would ask my colleagues to vote down the motion to withdraw without prejudice. Let's take a vote on the motion. And let's hear the residents who are against it. I mean, to be quite honest, I mean, they've come down twice. This gentleman from Eating Hills hasn't come up to the City Hall once. Why should we have these residents come down a third time? So, again, I'd like to end this matter tonight. Those are my feelings. I mean, I'd ask my colleagues to consider that and vote down the motion to withdraw without prejudice.
Thank you, Councilor Curran. Okay, so there's a motion made and properly seconded to allow the petition to be withdrawn without prejudice. Any other discussion on the motion? Okay, seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll on the motion.
On the motion to withdraw, Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Delgado.
No.
No, Counselor Click Bruce.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran.
No.
No, Counselor Santinello.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield absent. Counselor Perez absent. Counselor Fenton.
Yes, more than sufficient. Matter is withdrawn without prejudice. Okay, any more business, Madam Clerk?
No, there's not.
Okay. Council will stand adjourned until our next meeting, which is scheduled, councilors, for November 18th. We've got a couple of weeks off because of Veterans Day. Thank you and good night.